This is Sawyer Robertson, and you're listening to the Bearcast on SicEm365.com.
Welcome into the Bearcast on SicEm365.com. Today, Colt and I are going to give our Big 12 picks for the week, our best bets in week number 2 of the college football season. But before we dive into that, quickly a recap of last week. I hit on the Nebraska versus Cincy game, the under 51.5. That hit pretty easily. TCU at North Carolina, over 56.5, hit on that one. And then the miss, which Colt, you cautioned me on last week. I took Hawaii plus 17.5. They were absolutely blown out by Arizona thanks to a 5-0 turnover margin.
It's travel time, man. To travel.
Just brutal. So a 2-1 week for me. Colt, on the other hand, you went over 50.5 for Colorado, Georgia Tech. It went under at 47 points. Georgia Tech winning 27-20. You took the under 50.5 Utah versus UCLA, and Utah went on to score 43 points. So you missed that one by 3 points as they scored 53 points. And then Houston minus 22.5. They won 27-0. So hit there. So 1-2 week for you, Colt. Couple close misses there, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality of these early season games. And Vegas knows, man, like they pinpoint these pretty close, like you know, within 2 or 3 points a lot of times. I mean, obviously you have your variance, but really close ones for that first games of the season. That was pretty good for Vegas.
Absolutely. So we're going to give our 3 best bets for the Big 12 this week, and then we're going to give our prediction as well, our bet for Baylor versus SMU as well. That'll be the last one that we get to. So Colt, I will let you start things off. What's the first matchup you want to look at this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to start, and I didn't really know which order to go in, but the BYU Stanford game is super intriguing, and I think for multiple reasons is because Stanford, I don't think Stanford's very good for one. So I really, you want to go towards BYU just covering outright, but it's 20.5. I don't know if I trust BYU with a freshman quarterback to cover 20.5, even though it's in Provo. But the over-under is 45.5. I could see this game being like Stanford 7, BYU 42. 35 to get 42. Or they might shut Stanford out because I think BYU's defense should be pretty good this year. Like, I'm not betting that BYU bets them out, but I really like the under at 45.5 right here just because I don't think Stanford's good. It's going to be a really tough matchup in Provo. And it's like you're banking on Stanford not being very good offensively and then BYU just getting late in the game and be like, oh, we're probably not going to push the issue right here. I think this is going to be a blowout to stay under 45.5. Heck, I would take obviously 45. If you get like a 38-7 game, I think is within the realm of possibility. I just don't think Stanford's very good this year.
I like that bet. They do get a week off, so that kind of scares me when you kind of look at that 20-point difference there. I would probably take the under as well if I were to bet that game. I think Stanford's definitely going to come out with a little something because they're going to be motivated to get back on track. Okay, my first game for the week, Arizona State travels to Mississippi State. Arizona State's a 6.5-point favorite. The over-under is 59.5. I'm going to take the under here. I have a hunch that this game is going to be a little bit lower scoring than people expect. Last year, they scored 53 points combined in this game. I just think it's a weird game. It's on the road for Arizona State. I think both these defenses are pretty good. I think Mississippi State's defense will be helped by the home field advantage. I think they'll slow down Arizona State enough. Arizona State, on the other hand, I think defensively they're going to have a very good game against Mississippi State and slow them down a lot. So I think 59.5 points is an awful lot considering they only scored 53 points a year ago.
Yeah, I think this comes down to the over and under comes down to if Mississippi State can stop the run, force him to pass. Honestly, I kind of like Blake Shapen in this spot. That's crazy to say, but they're playing at home. This is a game that you think Jeff Levy's ready to play. He dealt with so much last year from an offensive standpoint and all the revolving door at quarterback. They're kind of settled in. We know Blake Shapen extremely well. I think he fits this offense really well. If I'm picking this, I'm probably going more to the spread. And just from the standpoint of, I think on the road traveling that far, 6.5, I could see this being a 3-point game, even though Arizona State controls it. Because Mississippi State does enough offensively and potentially limits that running game. We don't know enough about Arizona State's run game yet for me to pick them to blow out an SEC team. Even though it's Mississippi State, I'm looking at like 6.5, saying maybe this is a 3-point game. Even though Arizona State kind of controls it, they just don't play their best.
Real quick, Sawyer Robertson has something to remind you about.
Want the latest information about your favorite team? Try out Sigum 365 premium content the next 3 months for just $5 by clicking the link below.
And now back to the Bearcast. Very well could be. I definitely think Arizona State will win that game, though.
Yeah, I like that.
And what's your next pick on this, Colt?
Yeah, so Kansas State and Army, and this is you don't expect Army to lose to Tarleton State, but they did. Tarleton State's not a bad team by any means. Baylor saw them last year, and they went on to have a pretty good season. Kansas State's just like defensively through Iowa State. And then through last week against who was North Dakota State, not North Dakota State, did not look good defensively. Gave up a lot. Like I don't know what my read is on Kansas. It seems like they do this every year where they just kind of start off slow and kind of just drag along, and then by the end of the year they're a pretty good team. I think this is a place for Army to play up better than they did last week, and a place for Kansas State you're playing a service academy. We're kind of familiar with that. You go in, you're just kind of lackadaisical. They play really physical with you. So I'm looking at 46.5. I like that. I like Army to cover the 17.5, but I also like the under on this. Army's inevitably going to play teams close because of their style of play. 17.5 points is a lot, and I don't trust Kansas State's offensive and defensive lines as much as I would say 3 years ago. They're just not nearly as dominant as they could be, and they're not nearly as old this year either.
Yeah, it's been a weird stretch for Kansas State, and I don't really know what to make of it. They obviously had to go all the way to Ireland and then came back home and clearly probably felt the effects from that. I think they're going to get the win against Army and maybe regroup a little bit. But 17.5, you're right. It's a lot of points. It's just Army lost to a FCS school in week 1. So yeah, it does kind of raise your eyebrows a little bit in that.
But if I'm on record for this, and obviously I am, I'm going with the 17 Army covering 17.5. I think that's the better bet than under 46.5. I think that's a better bet.
Okay. My next one is kind of directly tied to our talk about Kansas State, which I'll get to here in a second. So Iowa travels to Iowa State. Iowa State's a 3.5 point favorite. The over under is 41.5. So Colt, fun little trivia for you. When's the last time that Iowa State won the Cy-Hawk game in Ames? So won a home game in this rivalry.
The Iowa won at Iowa State.
No. Iowa State won at home.
Oh, I mean, they play neutral a lot, don't they? So how many years ago?
It's every year they swap.
Is it every year? Oh, I thought they played neutral. I don't know. I mean, I assume since you're asking me, it's been a while. So what, 20 years?
2011 was the last time that Iowa State won in Ames.
15 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, it has been just dreadful for Iowa State to get this win at home, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but Iowa plays really well in this game, and Iowa State does too. We saw Iowa State go on the road last year and beat Iowa in what was a crazy game. Iowa State's getting a lot of praise right now, and I'm just kind of sitting back and going, okay, they beat Kansas State in not dominating fashion, and Kansas State doesn't look good. Like they look bad. And then, yes, they ran up the score on an FCS team that people expect to be pretty good. But I'm not really buying it. They don't have really good receivers. Chase Soule hasn't come through for them like they thought he would, the transfer from East Carolina at receiver. They haven't been able to make up the losses for Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. I just think that they're going to run into an Iowa team that just didn't show a lot in week 1, and an Iowa team that just, this is on brand for them. They don't throw the ball well, but they play great defense, and they're going to run the football a ton. For Iowa to be a 3.5 point favorite in this matchup just feels like a lot. So I'm going to take Iowa plus 3.5 in what should be a great rivalry game. I think this will be a 3-point game probably either way. So to get 3.5 points feels really nice in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, for a low scoring game, as you explained, the over under is 41.5. So you're expecting a low point game. The variance is not going to be very much. You're talking about, play at the end. Was it the last year for sure? And it feels like it's been a couple years where it's been a last minute game. I don't know really what, I think everybody points to that Kansas State game because it was a ranked win. I just talked about Kansas State. I don't know how good they really are. Like, I like Avery Johnson fine, but I don't know what playmakers he has around him. So what does that win for Iowa State really mean? We don't know yet. This just feels like a spot that Iowa State struggles offensively without, like you just mentioned, without two really, really good receivers. And I haven't even looked at the box score last year, but I assume those guys had decent games last year against Iowa when they won that game. Iowa's going to be good defensively. They're going to have a good offensive line. Like, I mean, if I was picking this, it's like, man, what's the money line on this? Like, can Iowa just go in and win this game? And I hate to say that, but Iowa's going to be plenty talented, and they might lean on Iowa State a little bit. Iowa State's not a good rushing team. They weren't last year, and Kansas State ran on them quite a bit too. Or was it Kansas State? Or was it Kansas State that ran on them this year quite a bit? Is that what I remember right?
Not to the level that they should have, because they lost Dylan Edwards on like the first play of the game. But yeah. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think Iowa could lean on them as well. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Maybe a little, second week jet lag for Iowa State too, coming back from Dublin. We'll see on that. All right, Colt, where are we going next?
Yeah, last pick for me, and man, just poor Mike Gundy, dude. I don't know. Like, I know they have money, and that's all the talk about Oregon's roster. Like, he's setting this game up. Like, you say maybe he's playing some mind games with Oregon, but what's the point? You're just pissing people off at this point. So I'm looking at this game. Oregon's 28.5 point favorite. So like, where's this line even going? The over and under is 55.5. So I think Dan Lanning goes in and makes a point in this game, and not to disrespect Mike Gundy, but like, what are we talking about here? 55.5. Like, Oregon could, dude, it's kind of scary though, because Oklahoma State doesn't have a quarterback right now. So I don't know if 55.5 makes more sense, or 28, picking Oregon to cover 28.5 makes sense. But I just know, whatever case, Oregon's going to stomp Oklahoma State. And Mike Gundy's comments probably didn't make it any better. I will lean the over 55.5, because I kind of feel like Mike Gundy will have something up his sleeve offensively, but I don't see any way Oregon scores under 40 points. And it's probably going to be more like 50 in this game. Like, I could see a 50-7 type game, or 50-14 type game. I don't think Oklahoma State's that good. Like, I watched them in that week, the opener, and Haas Haney was kind of their only guy. Like, that was their team offensively. I just don't see their matching up with Oregon at all. I'm going over 55.5 for the over and under.
And they rolled with Haas Haney as their starting quarterback, and then he got hurt. So now they're technically going into this game with their backup quarterback, who's not as mobile. Good thrower, but not as mobile. I think this is a mismatch. The problem here is I'm actually a little bit opposite with you when I look at this game. I could see Oregon winning this game like 31-3 or like 28-0, like something like that, even though I get the Gundy going in there and putting up some points definitely makes some sense as well. But I'm with you. I think Oregon I think they're going to beat them by at least 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Probably.
I think it could ultimately be defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns for Oregon. Like, Oklahoma State's not going to be very good offensively in this game. It's a bad matchup. You're playing a backup quarterback. You might throw a pick six and have a fumble inside your 20 that gives them 14 points. When Oregon might not even be trying to really score, and it happens. And that's kind of where I see the difference in this game. I just don't think Oklahoma State's very good right now.
Okay, so moving into my last pick of the week. This is one that I've had pegged since the offseason, so I'm just going to roll with it. West Virginia travels to Ohio. West Virginia is a 3.5 point favorite. The over-under 60.5. Yeah, I like Ohio. This is a team that returned a lot offensively. They looked dreadful defensively against Rutgers, which scares me a little bit and makes me think that the over here is actually probably the right pick if you're going to. 60.5, over 60.5 feels like the right pick. And that's probably the pick that I should go with. And I feel the most strongly about that. So why don't I just lock in? That's what I'm going to go with, is over 60.5. But I'm telling you right now, I think Ohio's going to beat West Virginia in this game. I think that this is set up to be a game where West Virginia gets exposed. They played a nobody in week 1. And I think that allowed them to get the win, and they didn't look good at all. And so now Ohio is here, and Ohio just played a Power 4 team and on the road. And now they get to come back home. They have a veteran quarterback who is really, really good. I'm actually surprised he stayed at Ohio. And so I think they're going to put up some points and ultimately get the win that they just couldn't quite get against Rutgers in week 1.
Yeah, my only concern about that game, I haven't looked at the stats for Ohio defensively, but Jaheim White's pretty good running the football. Mark Y'all is not great, but he's effective at times. I mean, he had a decent game against Robert Morris. He's a kind of a talented dude, but you're really not sure what you're going to get from him in general. That would be my only, like, when you're picking an over, it's kind of like, can they just control the clock? And is that what Rich Rod does? Is just try to control the clock, keep this low. But yeah, West Virginia, it's kind of scary. They had so many new players this year, and that was off of a team that was just okay last year. New coach. Ohio, this seems like a perfect spot. And like, why is this game even on the schedule for West Virginia? Like, why are you even going to Ohio to play this game?
Yeah.
That's not like we talk about Baylor going to Texas State a few years ago. Was that 21 when they won that game? Like,
yeah.
To me, that's even different. Ohio has a fan base. They play well. It's a considerably different atmosphere than some of these other games that teams are traveling to. West Virginia at Ohio in any other year is still kind of scary. Though in this year, West Virginia is not going to be very good this year in my mind.
Yeah, before we move into our Baylor picks, I also want to say that UCF's very lucky that I don't see a line this week because I would be picking the other team against them. I think UCF might be I don't know that they're winning a Big 12 game. Oh my gosh, it was it was really, really rough to watch. So just wanted to get that comment in there before we move on to the Baylor SMU game. So Baylor travels to SMU on Saturday. SMU's 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 64.5. Colt, where are you going with this one?
I mean, this is publicly saying this, and I've said it on our premium podcast, but like, if Baylor loses this game, Baylor's in for a pretty mediocre season. And that's with expectations of trying to play in a Big 12 championship game. And I think Baylor feels like they have that potential. I don't think SMU recovers from everything they lost last year this quick. Had we known even a test last week appropriately, not East Texas A&M, could have helped them in this game a lot. I don't think that they know what they need to fix yet. They had their issues against East Texas A&M. I just think it's kind of like we really still don't know what this team is. There's a lot like, in my mind, Tarleton at Baylor last year. Baylor won that game handedly, but there were so many question marks that came out of it. I think that's very similar to what SMU just did against East Texas A&M, and I think Baylor goes in this game more battle-tested straight off the top. But I think offensively, Baylor's going to be too much for a defense that replaces so much. Even though they have a lot of guys coming back in the secondary, I like Baylor in this matchup, and I understand that you have reasons to feel weary about Baylor right now as a Baylor fan or someone from the outside perspective. But Baylor winning this game 35-31, 42-38 is the same as them winning it, whatever. I like Baylor outright, and if I was going to bet, I would just bet the money line. Like, I just think I'm not even worried about the points. Just Baylor to win outright is kind of where I'm leaning on this one.
Yeah, if I were to make a pick like that on it, it would be Baylor to win this game as well. So I guess we both get Baylor plus 2.5.
That's the bet for me. I just, to pick them to, win by 2 and, less than 3 points. Just, again, it doesn't make sense. I might as well just go straight money line because it's inevitable. Them winning by 2 points just seems really difficult to do. But yeah, I would cover Baylor. That's my pick, would be Baylor covering 2.5 points.
Yeah, I think that would be my pick as well if I wasn't extremely confident in this game hitting the over 64.5. That's where I'm going to pick for this game. I just don't see a world where both these teams aren't in the 30s. And if they're both in the 30s, it's going to be really difficult for them to not go over 64.5. So
this had to be 34-30 game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. If I were to bet this game, it would be the over on it. But also, I would take Baylor to win this game as well, straight up in the money line. But yeah, for this week, officially, I'm taking the over 64.5.
Yeah, my concern with the over is if both of these teams get in, you feel like pretty good about Baylor's rushing game against their front, everything they had to replace. You worry about Baylor's defensive front after last week, and they just go out and both of these teams just run the ball a ton. Baylor didn't give up explosives in the run game. They just kind of maintained the run game. Then it's a short game. And so like maybe you end up at 28-24 and you're like, the over 64 is in trouble because they're moving the ball. They're just not doing any, they're not doing it at a fast pace, and that would be my only concern with the over 64.5.
I think their tempos will make up for it. That's what I'm betting on.
Potentially,
both play pretty fast even when they are running the football. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. This is a big week for the Big 12. Lots of really good matchups on the slate, lots of really good Power 4 matchups as well. So it'll be interesting to monitor. We'll be back next week with our Big 12 picks like we will be doing or trying to do every single week during the fall. But thanks for listening today. This has been the Bearcast on Sikkim365.com.
Join Sikkim 365 Premium on a $1 for 1 month trial to read our experts' notes and insights. Know about high school commits, off-season transfers, coaching staff changes, and so much more before the rest. Also, download the Sikkim 365 app on your iPhone today to get instant notifications of breaking news, read up on the latest inside info, easily interact with other Baylor fans on our forums, and get alerts for anything published by your favorite staff members.